Hi everyone. Cheers. This is my little celebration. Very nice. So we got something to talk about. We got some celebrating to do. Hello, ho for I think probably for most of you it's the middle of the night. Hopefully, many of you went to bed knowing the news. Hi, Malia. I've been doing some family things, just hanging out with my family for a couple of hours. So I've missed a lot of the action. 5 a.m. over here celebrating. Awesome. Really, really good news. Anyway, those of you that have seen the news, perhaps some of you haven't seen the news, but the news is that PP10014 has been rescinded. It's been revoked. It's gone. No longer an issue. So let's have a look at this, and I want to actually go through a couple of things and just talk through. Let's see, Cook. Let's see. Oh, Charles Cook. There we go. I want to see Charles's tweet. Yeah. So this is the proclamation. So President Biden today revoked proclamation 10014. That's the big news. There is already, which is unusual actually, there's already a statement on the travel.state.gov website about this, and I'm going to show you that. Which, let me just show you. Let me show you a couple of these things. We'll share a couple of things on the screen. Okay, so here is the information from travel.state.gov, right? So I've already seen some people say, please let IATA know, the travel organization. They will see this. This is, obviously official information. The proclamation rescinding there's a proclamation rescinding the earlier proclamation that's already published. I can go through some of that with you, but I think the point is this has obviously been organized between the government administration, President Biden, and the travel.state.gov website. They clearly have been talking about this, and they've worked out how to implement it. So this is what we were learning about last week. We were finding out that they were planning the review. They knew they were going to conclude the review. Many of you have pointed out that the government lawyers continue to fight. And I've said before, they will continue to fight. That's their job. That's what they do. They're paid fighters, right? So the fact that they continue to fight, even though they probably knew that the proclamation was going to be revoked, shouldn't be a surprise. But there you go. So this travel.state.gov announcement actually does make clear some specifics about DV 2020, right? And essentially what it's saying is that people can enter immediately. Couple of highlights. The Schengen ban is still in place. So the geographic bans, which is 9984, 9992, 10143, each of those are still in place. So, and there is an exception for some visa categories, but not for DV. So you've got to work around that, right? So as we know, that means a 14-day stay somewhere else. It's possible that over the next few days we could get national interest exceptions for that also. I believe that would be possible. But it's clear that the government, whilst they know some of the things, and whilst state knows some of the stuff, there's still a little bit of confusion in here. For example, the order makes clear, and the interpretation from state makes clear that the DV 2020 applicants who have not had their visas expire yet are now free to enter. And they mentioned the Gomez v. Trump lawsuit, which extends the validity of those visas. So They mention that, but they also say that people whose visas expired prior to this date are not going to be covered, when in fact, in my understanding, those people are covered by the Gomez win. So for people that had the visa issued or reissued from September 4th to September 30th of last year, and those visas have now expired because they, expired early for whatever reason. Apart from that sort of set period between the 17th and the 28th, so as long as it expired prior to the 17th, it should be covered by the Gomez win. So we'll have to go through that, and we'll talk with the lawyers tomorrow, and we'll figure out exactly what it means for people with expired visas. So let's just go through the categories. Everyone that got a renewed visa in September or an issued visa in September should be covered by the Gomez case, and if your visa is not expired, you can enter now. If you're subject to the Schengen ban because, or any of those geographic bans because you happen to be in one of those countries, you need to respect that ban at the moment, that travel restriction. You will need to get, you'll need to figure out for yourselves what steps you need to take to get through COVID controls, either in your country or as you arrive in America. It probably means you've got to get a negative COVID test. And for some of you, I heard from someone today that knows he's positive for COVID at the moment. He's got COVID, presumably not too sick. In that situation, you're going to have to wait, and then you're going to have to rely on the Gomez extension, right, which is for 6 months. Again, this information from state that talks about no timeline being set, which is strange. There was clearly a timeline being set, by the Gomez case. So that covers all the people that were issued in September. For people that had visas issued earlier in the year, but for whatever reason weren't able to get them reissued, those people are going to have to be covered in the Gomez case later on. We're going to need to cover those people. So I'm talking about people who had a visa prior to April 23rd, and for whatever reason weren't able to get that visa reissued in the month of September. Those people and everyone else that's waiting for processing in DV 2020 will all need to wait until the Gomez final outcome. Clearly, this revocation here is going to make the Gomez lawsuit a little easier. I don't think it's completely cut and dried that we win that yet, but because the judge will have to figure out in what way he can issue those visas, right? And we also don't know whether it's going to be just the 9,095 or whether we can get additional visas. So those things are still going to be argued out in the Gomez lawsuit, and that's now going to be late March or early April before we hear that. So there's going to be some more waiting for some of you in DV 2020. For DV 2021, the revocation will begin to get things going for interviews. Not immediately. I don't think we're going to start seeing interviews like tomorrow or next week or anything like that. But it should mean that KCC start to process and schedule interviews. We should be able to see some interviews. We may get some February 2NLs. There may be a few February 2NLs, but we're more likely to see some March 2NLs. And March 2NLs would be for May interviews. So there's a small chance we might get some April interviews because we've still got 4 days to go in February. And I think it's clear now that KCC were probably warned about this revocation a few days ago, because their operation seems to have kicked into gear a little bit over the last few days. I've noticed that. I've mentioned that in some tweets that I made today, where I was sort of predicting what was going to happen next, right? And I talked about my spidey sense tingling, and turns out I was right about that. So it's good news for DV 2020 people. It's good news for visa holders from DV 2020. There's a few cases that need to be figured out exactly what the status will be, but a handful of cases, not that many, but it does mean that thousands of people who got issued in September, thanks to the incredible win by the Gomez, Acker, Mohammed Fongjong, and Kennedy cases, although Kennedy was late, But that group of lawyers did a tremendous job in fighting for you. And don't forget, that was the culmination of months of work. They started, I think they started in May. I think I was beginning to speak to Curtis Morrison in May regarding that whole case. So that was months of work to that point, and they've continued to fight. So it's almost a year of fighting that's been going on here. So, you know, all of that work has culminated with the revocation of this ban. Okay, so so that's where we stand with the ban. You can go and read the wording of the. You can read the wording yourself of this. I just want to check because I know other people are going to ask. 24th. Notice continuation, emergency, continuation, executive order of supply chains, revocation of certain presidential actions. I want to see if 152 is revoked. Excuse me, just reading this as I go. No, doesn't look like 10052 has been revoked. So we'll have to figure out what's going to happen with that one. That's not really my angle. I'm more interested in DV lottery, as you know. But anyway, that's where we stand with that. Okay, so you're bound to have some questions here. Let's spend the rest of the time talking about that. So this is an important question. Annunziato and its plaintiffs, now that the ban is lifted. Okay, so Annunziato is going to stay as an important case, right? And Charles Cook has already commented on that this evening. Actually, I've got a message from Charles. Let me just see what he says. It's just a little cheers from Charles. Cheers, Charles. Well done. And just let me again say, let me name as many as I can. Jesse Bless from Ayla did a fantastic job of getting this together. Jesse enlisted the help of a couple of other large firms to help with this. There's a whole team of lawyers in that group. Then there's Curtis Morrison's group, if you like, which is Raphael Renia and Curtis Morrison, and again, a whole team of people. And then with obviously Charles Cook, Greg Siskind, Jeff Joseph, Aaron Hall, all of that group, and again, more lawyers. I think you need to understand how many lawyers have been working for you. It's incredible the effort that's gone into this. So it's been quite amazing. But anyway, the Annunziato case then, Synthesia. It's important because even though PP10014 is gone, we need Judge Seaborg to push the cases. A part of the Annunziato case is a mandamus action, which mandamus means to force someone to do something that is their job, essentially, in government. And so we need to force the government and government officials to do their job, right? We know we've got limited time left for DV 2021, so we need them to take action as quickly as possible in order to adjudicate as many cases as possible. Bear in mind there's going to be some embassy closures still to contend with, but we need KCC to operate as fast as possible, and we need the embassies to operate as fast as possible. And we're probably going to need some help in getting DV cases scheduled at some of the embassies where they're not operating at full opening levels yet, right? So some more information will come out about that over the coming days, I'm sure. But it's clear that we need Annunziato to continue for that reason, to press ahead with cases as fast as possible. So we need Judge Seaborg to help with that. And we're also going to need, I think, some extra provision of time in a similar way to what Judge Mehta did for us last September in protecting 9,000 visas, and hopefully we'll get more, but in a similar way we're going to need that sort of protection in September of this year, because there isn't enough time. No matter how fast they go now, there's not enough time to get finished by the end of the year. It just isn't. So I can explain why, but even in at full capacity. Everything goes through KCC, right? That's the first problem. KCC have, X amount of capacity. It doesn't matter how many embassies there are waiting to catch the ball. Only KCC can throw the ball, right? So unlike September, where we saw 6,000 or nearly 7,000 visas issued in just 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, the reason that was possible was that many of those cases were already at the embassy. They had been scheduled from earlier in the year, right? And so the embassy were able to just basically call the applicant, or the applicant called the embassy, and cases just got set up. KCC didn't need to do anything on those cases. There were some cases where KCC needed to do something, but this is quite different. No cases are scheduled yet. It's all got to go through KCC. The documents procedure has got to be completed for all these cases, and so on. So we have a systematic problem, the system being KCC and the embassies. And then some of the embassies won't be accepting DV cases at all, or any cases in some examples, right? So that's going to be a problem. And so we are going to need the mandamus part of the Annunziato case, and also some visas to be set aside, or we may be facing the situation where only, I don't know, half of the visas, something like half the visas would be issued. 20,000, 25,000 might be, all we can see. I mean, I'm guessing on these numbers. There's no way I can be precise, but it would be of that sort of range. It's all we can get done in the next few months. Okay, so any chance of DV 2020? I think I just answered that. So that's going to rely on the Gomez outcome, right? And you're going to have to wait until at least late March, probably April now. I think there's a rescheduling of some of those hearings. So that's going to wait a while. Will DV 2021 interviews start in April? If we can get them scheduled over the next few days, yes. So they've got the remainder of this week, and they may take, a couple of days out of next week to actually start scheduling some cases, particularly where some of the embassies might be cooperating with you directly, and they might be able to contact KCC to say, set this interview up for April. So if that happens over the next few days, we might see a few cases being interviewed in April, but it won't be full capacity. And then in March, I would hope, since this has happened now, and it really is great timing that it's happened now, when we've still got a few days before the end of the month. So that means that from the beginning of next month, they can begin to schedule and get set up for the cases they've already got in the hopper, which are the cases that are already current and already ready for scheduling. So they can really make some good progress in March and send out some 2NLs in March. Okay, and the travel.state.gov announcement was very clear that the organization for that will start to happen. Okay, does the confirmation mail depends on the current case number in VB? There is a sort of an order with all of these things. They tend to focus their intention on lower case numbers. Yes, so you're not being clear about which confirmation mail you're talking about, but yes, in general, the focus is on the lower case numbers. Okay. Oceania, regardless of your professional understanding, but you must have high school. Okay, so I didn't see the question from Oceania. Okay, there's one. I'm sure you're asking a sort of, I can see people are trying to answer you. I'll ask you a question again and I'll try and pick it up, okay? All right, so do you think this new development will affect AOSs in any way? Will USCIS speed up the process for every G3 applicant? No, there's no change to AOS because they've been processing normally. There's been no impact to them, so there's nothing to change. This isn't going to affect AOS cases at all, not in any way. Which lawsuits are moot now? None are moot, actually. There's aspects of the Annunziato case that will be moot. The Gomez case, in terms of the appeal to revoke PP10014, that will be moot. But there's still work to do on all of the lawsuits. So we need to continue down the path with all of them. The Gomez case, the Annunziato case, Kennedy, all of them. The work will continue, and I have absolutely no doubt the lawyers, the legal team, are going to stay involved and active. They've got thousands and thousands of hours into this already. They're not going to stop working just because they've won this battle. They want to see this. They want to see this through. So what happens to 2021 winner? Well, I think I've talked about that. Thanks to all the teams and you, Simon. You are the godfather of DV. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. And Synthesia, thank you for your kind words too. Yes, congratulations to all DV winners. Sergio, your wife is coming finally. So happy. I'm happy for you. It must be pretty early in the morning. Oh no, you're in America, right? Your wife is abroad. So yeah, she's coming. My God, I mean, you must be thrilled. That's awesome news for you. I was just talking to my wife and my daughter about this. That they're thrilled. They know a lot about what's going on, obviously, and they're thrilled too. Amanda asked, does that mean that case numbers that have become current should start receiving 2NLs now? So I think I've described that. I think we might see some in February, but we'll certainly see some activity in March. So that's great news. Geographic travel bans, the 14-day restrictions, yes, I think those are still going to be in place. There is a chance that we can get NIEs for those because on the cases that were issued NIEs last week, particularly the one that I'm quite familiar with, the case in Netherlands, the NIE that was issued was an NIE for the PP10014, but also the Schengen area ban, because that applicant happened to be from the Netherlands. Actually was in Aruba just when they traveled, but had done the 14-day quarantine outside of the Schengen area, but nevertheless was given for absolutely no justification, was given the NIE that included the Schengen ban. So yeah, it's possible that we could get those, but you'll have to wait a couple of days to see if those are possible. The Department of State information there says something like, if you can travel now, because they're making the point that the order could be changed in some way. They're not sure of the timeline. Those things are true. I don't think you need to sort of sit back and say, well, I've got 6 months now, 6 months from the date of the revocation. The 6-month clock for the Gomez case starts today, right? That's this was one of the 3 dates that would kick in that 6-month period of protection. But there may need to be a modification of the order, so just be a little bit careful there. Just understand that we're flying a little bit blind. Judge Mehta did such a great job. He put the government, up against the wall and said, look, I'm going to sort these people out if you're not going to do it, right? He wrote the order in such a way that it forced the government, frankly, to take action. And the bit they won't like, and I've talked about this before in some of the videos I've created recently, the bit they won't like, the bit that they're out on a limb on, is that there is there's no thinking or thought process in Gomez's order about the medicals, right? And so that's kind of a problem. And it's not clear to me how they were going to resolve that problem, but by revoking the order, they get to the fastest possible point where they're going to try and encourage people to use the visas as quickly as possible. It's not clear to me whether they might come back and say, well, yeah, but you need another medical if you're going to extend that visa. The judge's order doesn't say anything about that, so the lawyers could definitely complain if the government came back and said that. But there's always a splitting of the baby. The Judge Mehta decision was very, very strongly on our side, and probably a little bit too strongly. And so, just be a little bit cautious. Do plan to make the earliest possible attempt to enter the country. And of course, if you're booking travel, make sure you print out this travel.state.gov website page, right? Make sure it's very clear. Make sure you're carrying documentation. You'll find that if you arrive tomorrow, some of the CBP officers, some of the airlines may not know anything about this revocation. Again, they are not watching things as closely as we are, right? So you're going to have to show evidence of why you think you can board that plane. You may have to show evidence to the CBP officer and you'll have to say firmly but politely, please check with your supervisors because the order has been revoked. It may say on your visa that you're subject to PP10014, and that's going to confuse people. So you're going to have to point to the wording in the Department of State announcement there that actually refers to that annotation that could be on your visa, right? You're going to have to be a little bit pushy on your own behalf. So that's what you're going to need to do. Okay. DV 2021 case AF 3840 or 4 range. You submitted all the documents and received the confirmation. Do we need to resubmit the documents? Okay. You see, you need to be really more clear when you write things to me. When you say you received the confirmation, which confirmation? Did you get the automatic confirmation that you sent them an email that could have been a photo of Mickey Mouse? Or did you get the confirmation that says, congratulations, you submitted all the documents, you're ready for scheduling? Be very clear. If you didn't get the other one, then you need to contact KCC and see if you've got, if your documents have been fully approved, okay? And don't resubmit your documents if that's not necessary. You'll just confuse them. Al-Jundi, hello Simon, how can I confirm that KCC has received my documents? It's been more than 6 weeks since I've sent them, no response until the moment. First of all, are you a low case number? If you're not a low case number, they're not looking at your documents, so forget the 6 weeks thing. Just ignore that whole 6 weeks thing. If you're a high case number, they haven't started looking at it. If you're a low case number, you can email the KCC normal email address and ask them, right? And they may be able to tell you. It may prompt them to actually say, yes, they're processed, or no, we're processing. You may do, but you can see. But if I don't know your case number, unfortunately, you've not put it there, so I have no idea what case number you're at. Chase Dream, day by day, we are losing time and also gaining hope. I don't know what losing time comment is about now. What were you waiting for? Do you expect, angels to come down from the heavens or something? This is it. This is the win that we've been fighting for. What more do you want? Right. Siva Kumar says, what about category 4, awaiting KCC to schedule interview? You'll have to wait for the Gomez outcome. Okay. Think about that as being early April now. Buddha, I know you said it's a good time to start the DS260 process, but EU 25 XXX, what do you feel? Yeah, Puda, I would wait personally. I can't say that number is safe, right? Nobody can say that number is safe. It might be fine, but it's a gamble. So if you ever expect to make a non-immigrant application in the future, and you don't want to have the difficulty of having submitted the immigrant application, then you may want to wait for a month and see how things go with scheduling of interviews in March and how many embassies are open and that sort of thing. And you might then feel like you can take a bit more of a gamble. You could, in theory, wait until about April, perhaps even early May. I wouldn't go into May personally, but you could wait until April to submit your documents and still be processed in time. So, it would be quite safe to consider early April as a submission time, as late as that. So you've got a little bit of time. Like you say, wait at least another month. That's a sensible time. Great picture, by the way, Peter. Is that you, or is that someone I should probably recognize? I don't know. Great picture, though. On Joseph, what's the best way to find out about what diplomacy strong phase a particular consulate is at? There doesn't seem to be any info on the Sydney website. Oh, Sydney are great. Email them, ask them with, now we've got this recession of the revocation of the order. Drop them a line, right? They're very responsive, and they'll answer you. Yaz is saying that 10052 section 1 revoked. That's good. I'll have to read about that. But as I say, it's not really in my area of interest, right? Carol 0580, good evening, Mr. Britt. Visa in March, right? Those people that got their visa in March, but they were not able to get it reissued in September. They need to wait for the Gomez final outcome. Okay, Julie, I'm screen printing all the news about the lift of the ban. Good. Absolutely, don't let CBP screw with you. And it won't be because they're nasty people or anything. It's just that they won't be informed. And I know you're traveling tomorrow, Julie, so it's quite likely you're going to find the airline won't know what the hell's going on, and the CBP officer won't know what's going on. But you're coming into San Francisco, right? So I should be there with flowers for you. But yeah, you'll find they're pretty decent people at San Francisco. They're nice people. Miami, different scenario in completely different scenario. You go into Miami, honestly, my blood pressure goes through the roof every time I go in there. I've recently unlocked my DS2, my newly born daughter. Will they ask again for supporting documents, or should I send them without their mail? Yeah, you've got to resend the whole package. You've got to send all of your documents, your spouse's documents, and the child's documents. You've got to resend the whole package, right? I should probably have cleared that up in my article today. Okay, blanket NA has just been granted to all DV 2020. Charles Cook just tweeted it. I think you mean tweeted it. People with regional bans are no longer subject to them. If that's true, blanket NIE, everyone can come now. Okay, so that was an hour ago. See, he says that, I'm reading that. I'd like to just sort of check that. That might be something that that Curtis and Curtis might know about that. Let me just see if Curtis has got anything about that. I'd like to just check that. Okay, so I'm hoping you're right. Their conclusion drawn by pointing to one or oh. Give that 24 hours to figure it out, right? I don't quite know what they're talking about with that, so we'll have to figure out whether that really is a blanket NIE that covers the regional bans as well. I hope so. That would be a sensible way to approach it. Like I said in a tweet today, they don't want to issue individual NIEs in volume. They certainly don't want to do that. Cheers to you, yes. Let me just get that and give you a cheers. Chin chin. Arriba, abajo, al centro, adentro. We're grateful for the lawyers. Absolutely, you should be. Good evening, Mr. Brett. DVD. Okay, I just answered that. Amanda, you haven't heard anything from KCC since 4 months back when you sent the documents. Do you think now they will say something? Yeah, again, you've got to tell me your case number. It may be that your case number is too high, so that's why they're not answering you. But you can certainly email them and ask, right? Danielle, if they start interviewing DV 2021 cases right now, and since it's one of the topics in an Enunciato case, do you think that they'll be issued all 55K? No. If not, can KCC make all the case numbers current so that they can issue as much visas as they can? So I've had this discussion with a number of people. It's an interesting idea. The concept is, okay, so let me cover the normal concept. Normally, current means that there are more visas available than the remaining demand, that they have enough time and they have enough visas to issue all of the remaining visas. Now, that's never been true about DV 2021. There are too many selectees. The Muslim ban being revoked added back in 15,000 additional selectees, particularly bad for Asia, high case numbers, and Africa, high case numbers. With 134,000 selectees, I think it is, there's just way too many selectees, right? So it's never been true that there are sufficient visas for everybody remaining. There is also not sufficient time for everybody remaining. However, your question, Danielle, is really this: if we've got 3 embassies and 2 of those embassies are closed, but the third is open and interviewing people, by making cases current, you allow this third embassy to do as much work as it can, even though the other 2 can't go ahead. Now, that's somewhat sensible if you care about the highest case numbers and if you care about getting the most visas issued, but that's not actually what they care about. They care about the rules, and the rules say that case numbers control the processing of the cases. So I would be surprised if they do what you think that they should do, right? I would be surprised. It's not impossible, but I would be surprised. I don't think that's going to happen. So our best opportunity is in the Annunziato case to get an agreement from Judge Siebold that they can give us more time and that they can move as fast as possible, and that even if an embassy is partially open, that we can get DV cases held at that embassy. Don't ask for any NIEs at the moment. There's this comment that someone just made a few minutes ago about a blanket NIE that could cover Schengen area, but just wait 24 hours, would you? Wait until tomorrow, we can get all of that cleared up. But also consider, can you travel without the NIEs? Could you do 2 weeks of quarantine somewhere else? Consider that. But we'll know better tomorrow, okay? Thomas, should I contact KCC if I've submitted e-documents, haven't heard anything back? Will it be current in April? You'll be current. Okay, so yeah, you should contact them. Contact KCC tomorrow. Blanket NIE has been granted. Tweeted it. Yeah, that's the same one that you put earlier. When do you think 2 NLs will be sent? Nelson, I said earlier, possibly in February. More likely in March now, which is fantastic news. That's the fact that they've rescinded the PP10014 has given us March back. So that's really good news. Our interview is going to restart in countries affected by the geographical travel bans. They shouldn't, because we can spend 14 days in Mexico, right? So previously in DV 2020, some of the embassies did not hold interviews or grant visas between September 4th and the 14th. They took the position that the Schengen bans and other similar bans stopped them from issuing visas. And even though we had effectively got around the 10014 problem at that time in September, they applied the Schengen bans. And so it took another order from Judge Mater on September 14th, as my memory serves me, to get that problem removed. So if the government or the embassies start using that sort of logic, I use the term cautiously, logic, it's more like bullshit. If they start using that logic, then again, that's something that we can handle in Annunziato, and we'll get a quick order about that, because that's just, they've been told 5 times. The government have been told 5 times by 5 federal judges that they are not supposed to refuse to issue a visa because of some ban that says you can't enter. So they should process them, but we may have to fight that. Deodore, thanks for your lawyers, yours and the lawyers' tremendous effort for all of us in historical DV 2020. Is there any quarantine to stay arriving from New Zealand? Please look into that, Deodore. I can't really track all of the countries. You may have restrictions in your own country on exiting. I know there are some restrictions like that in Australia, for example. And there will be some restrictions as you enter the USA. And so for your travel plans, for your route, whatever that is, you need to look into that. I just want to go back where you said the historical 2020. It really is historical. There's never been a win like this. There has not been anything at all remotely like this in terms of the scale of this win. This is an enormous win. I mean, it helps that Trump was a complete tosspot, and there's a word that some of you who are used to the English language will understand. But he was so bad, and his administration and Stephen Miller was so bad, they just didn't even know how to write a proclamation. So it's been fairly easy to attack their work in a way. Our lawyers were able to find loopholes and exploit those loopholes. And I've said to many of you before, the fact that we got them into a position where they had to issue visas, even though the visas couldn't be used for entry, although it annoyed some of you, it was the thing that kept your cases alive. And now you see why, right? And so it's been a hard battle, I know, and it's been a pain in the arse, frankly, for many of you. But this was the way to keep things alive, and the lawyers were incredibly smart in doing that, right? So, you know, they took what they could to keep the patient alive. That's what they did. You alone have 4 laptops. Yeah, you're right. I do. I have a Mac. I'm a software engineer or architect, actually. I'm an enterprise architect. So I have a Mac, I have a new Windows machine, and I have my old Windows machine. All those are work related, and this is my personal laptop. So that's why I have 4. But yeah, I was thinking this probably looks like a bit greedy for laptops, but I don't even know how to work the Mac properly, frankly. But it's a nice machine. I have to say, it's a very nice one. They're all very high spec machines. So anyway, Britt, thank you for being such concerned and giving us an update ASAP. But revoking PP10014, will it help embassies to start a new interview for DV 2020? So DV 2020, the outcome of those cases relies on the Gomez case, and of course, in terms of capacity concerns, there is going to be a clash between DV 2020 cases that need to be interviewed and DV 2021. And that's going to add additional stress, and some of you are going to get pissed off about that. I know it, but that's the reality. And please, people in DV 2021, understand that most of the fighting that is benefiting you now is coming from DV 2020 cases. It's the fact that we started working on this a year ago, before many of you in DV 2021 even knew you were winners, that we're able to offer some help now. So please button your lip. Don't complain about when I talk about DV 2020 or the lawyers talk about that, and don't complain about what's going to happen with, you know, with DV 2020 and DV 2020 struggling. Right? Live, play nicely. One love, and as I say, just be grateful that we started the arguments a year ago before you even knew you were a winner. There's one for Sergio. I mean, it's a drinking game. I have to have a drink. Almost emptied your bottle. Oh my gosh. This is a very nice, I live in Livermore. It's a wine region around here. This is a very nice local wine. So I'm enjoying that. Special wine to open this evening. Thank you. I'm blessed. That's lovely. Yeah, you will be able to enter tomorrow. I mean, technically, you might go through some challenges with the airlines and with CBP, but yes, this is immediate. You can enter tomorrow. Good morning from Turkey. It's a great morning. Yep, visa holders can travel now. Those with valid visas should be on board. I mean, I think you mean should be able to board. That's true. Okari, yes. Yes. Yep, news is fresh, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Oh, I've scrolled too far again. I got to go through some of these questions quickly. Wow, I'm really behind with questions here. Okay. For DV 2021 numbers that are not current, shall we follow the instructions from your video yesterday to send documents without being asked them? Yes, do that. Things are about to get sort of loosened up at KCC. So yes, I want people to start sending in the documents now. And obviously, I have, you know, thousands of people follow my YouTube channel. I get a couple of $1 million, I wish. I get a couple of million hits a year on my blog. I've got, you know, I started a Twitter feed a few weeks ago. I got 7,000. I mean, what I'm trying to say is I've got fairly good coverage. I should imagine quite a lot of people listen to, you know, some of the things I say. Some of them don't like what I say, but whatever. So the people that I'm talking to, I want those people to take advantage of a few days of extra time when KCC are going to be hopefully able to receive your documents. And I'm hoping that they are prepared to handle things a little bit better than they have before. So yes, regardless of your case number, you can send in your documents. You may as well do that. If on the other hand you want to be a nice neighbor and you've got a high case number, then hold off for a couple of weeks. That's up to you. But in theory, anybody can send in their documents now. Is there any chance they would reissue our visas? You have to be more specific about your scenario. I've covered that a little bit earlier in the video, but be more specific so I can answer properly. You're very welcome, Haz. Peace, your passport will expire in 20th of November of this year. That's okay. Just go ahead and interview. No need to update KCC with your new passport. You can renew your passport prior to the interview and attend the interview with the old and the new passports. That's what I would do if I were you. Yep, they will let you book the plane, enter the plane. There were a few people, I think, that already booked tickets a few days ago, slightly sort of proactively. So good, good decision, it turns out. So go ahead and take advantage of that. So DV 2020 winners who didn't go to the embassy for the interviews, you have to wait for the Gomez case outcome, final hearing in late March or early April. Okay. King KC, studied computer engineering 2009 to 2014. You didn't pass, but I also did intern for 2 months. Yeah, okay. When I was working with a different company the same year from it. Okay, I can see you giving me your life history, but I don't know what that has to do with anything. In your DS260, you fill in all your information as accurate as possible. What you just said in terms of not passing the engineering course, whatever, no problem. Doesn't matter. The level of education needed is just below that level anyway, so no problem. What do we do for Schengen? I'm hoping that this information that I was reading earlier about a blanket NIE is true. If not, just wait 24 hours and we'll figure that out. Have a listen in tomorrow. We'll see what the lawyers are saying tomorrow. I'll have a more careful read. I came in from picking up my daughter. I walked in here and turned on the computer to make this video. So I haven't had a lot of time to have a look at this. People that were saying that Biden was the same than Trump must be feeling like idiots, I hope. My embassy is working, but at a very limited capacity. Would you advise to change my interview embassy? I wouldn't be changing interview locations at the moment if I were you, so just see how things are going. You could change to another embassy. That's going to mean you're going to go to a different medical. You're going to have perhaps translations for documents that you didn't normally, have to have translations for documents. They may not know your educational background, etc. You make your life more complicated by moving to another embassy. So I would suggest, unless it's unavoidable, don't go to a different embassy. In terms of your point about people that assume Biden was the same as Trump, yeah, I don't want to say I told you so, but I have said before, I think Biden's a decent man. I'm not going to agree with everything he does. I don't worship him. I don't have a flag outside or on my car saying, Biden this, Biden that, as some people did about Trump. He's not a king. He's not a god. He's just a decent man. And so he's done the right thing. I'm not surprised he's done the right thing. And the lawsuit was, I'm sure, a part of that happening. Shabazz, thanks for all the efforts. My brother has an interview in Feb 2020 and was told he will receive his passport with a visa. You think embassy will now tax paper? Tax paper? Well, I'll ask now tax paper. Okay, so your brother is going to have to wait until the Gomez final outcome. He's not been approved for his visa. He's got to wait. and at that time he may be asked to provide financial information as again, if that's what you're asking, like a financial supporter. Okay, Steph, you're currently in China, but I'm a Ghanaian. I've already received confirmation email, ready for interview. Okay. Question, will you be interviewed or need to the, okay, so 10014, I don't, sorry, 52 for non-immigrant visas, I don't know much about that. So I focus on DV lottery. So I don't want to answer that just in case I say the wrong stuff. Anna says, you've used the blog in the entire process from the date of winning to the moment we purchased tickets. That's fantastic. And you're going to New York. Great. It's the city that never sleeps. Okay. This is true, Rasul. The PP10014 is gone, but consulates are not conducting DV interviews, and consulates are saying they're closed because of the COVID pandemic. You're absolutely right. Both those things are true. Hopefully, things will be getting a bit better, and the rescission of this proclamation obviously alludes to a more generous feeling of the Biden administration. They will do what they can to encourage embassies to open, but there's other things that we can do. They might be able to get Zoom interviews for some embassies. There's other things that could be happening. We have to wait and see. Okay. Okay. Okay, I've not received scheduling confirmation. What's the risk? The risk is you don't get it, David. So I'm not quite sure what you mean about it. What's the risk? In terms of percentage, I don't do odds like that. Good heart, yeah. Thank you. Lots of lovely messages of thank you and gratitude. And that's lovely. Thank you. I wish I could thank every one of you back. But there you go. Your visa was emitted in March. What do you mean by emitted? It was issued in March and therefore expired. No, I don't recommend you call the embassy. They will simply say to you that DV 2020 is over. I assume you're a DV 2020 case. So no, don't contact them. Wait for the Gomez final outcome and then you can contact them. Thanks for the update. Is AF 40,000 is safe? No case number is safe. Until we start seeing interviews, until we know what's happening with the embassies, I'm not going to say a single case number is safe, right? You're safe when you've got your visa in your hand, not before then. If the last year has taught anybody anything, is that at least having the visa in your hand gives you some protection. But even then, things can change, right? So the concept of safe doesn't exist at the moment. Please don't rely on that word of safety. Play it safe and wait another month. Yep. Winona Ryder. Oh, it's Winona Ryder. I thought she was. I mean, I'm sure you're just as beautiful, Pluto. I'm quite sure. Right. Do I advise switching? No. Yeah, it's been 5 months. AS 6000. Yeah, you should email the email KCC and ask them if they're satisfied. That was for renew. Good luck from you, the Biden administration, as well as Gomez. Well, my issue is that my wife won DV 2020. Yeah, you might benefit from it. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the Gomez case. Okay. If the Gomez case is won, then those cases that were previously denied, even some of those cases in DV 2020 that were denied because of the Muslim ban or other similar bans, could be reconsidered. Okay. We'll see. Right, I'm just scanning down. I'm going to sleep now. Prepare for tomorrow. Good luck. Mojito time. Good night, Julie, if you're still online. But have a great flight tomorrow. Okay. Oh, that's great wine. Okay. OC 1100 on April cutoff. Yeah, and I apologize, by the way. On my website, I put OC 11,000. I copied that from someone's mum because I was unable to use my normal computer. I was using my fifth computer. This is gonna the one upstairs, and so I just copied that from someone's mum, and she had a typo in there, and so I copied it stupidly. Anyway, 1100 is the April cutoff. You're 18XX. Wondering if you become current in, say, August, what happens come September 30th? Okay, the normal thing is if you don't have your interview or if you're not approved by September 30th, you're out of luck. Tough luck, right? That's the normal thing. That happens every year, and every year people miss out like that. That's just what happens. However, this year we might get an extension of time. We might get some visas set aside. We just don't know. There's obviously risk at your case number, although Oceania is moving very fast, and I suspect there'll be a lower response rate in Oceania because you're sitting there in Australia, let's say, or New Zealand, which is where most of the cases come from, either New Zealand or Australia in Oceania. They've got the virus under control. It's been a shit show over here. Why would you want to come to America? A lot of people just wouldn't have responded, frankly. And people in those countries, they're fortunate anyway. They don't have the same desire or drive or need to come to America from what Trump famously called, shithole countries. So you're in a first world country anyway. So maybe the chances for 1800 are better than they would normally be. We'll see. Yeah, I read this today. Maybe it was from Newseller. So this thing about KCC has reached the limits of 13K in Africa. I don't know what the hell that's about. Firstly, there is no limit of 13K in Africa, so I don't know what that's about. KCC answered my question in October by informing that I have to wait for the email to submit documents. Yes, you have to submit documents. Yes, Salah, you have to do that. In terms of this 13K thing, I don't know what the hell I don't know where it comes from. Shan, Bahamas. Are you a North American group? Shan, I think I may have spoken to you before. Yeah, don't have many selectees in the Bahamas. So maybe I'll come visit you. And Robbie, you would just say, Robbie, you just, I recognize your photo. There you go. Yeah, right. Yeah. You're in Vancouver at the Montreal embassy. They say limited services for immigrant visas. Does this mean they could process DV? No, probably not. And we're going to need to push them. And particularly Montreal are pretty famously not cooperative. So we're going to have to push them a little bit, I'd imagine. We'll have to see how that can go. It depends at what level of this diplomacy strong level they're at, how open they actually are. Okay, I'm at about an hour. I'm going to do a few more questions, just try and catch up with this, and just answer any other questions that you've got. So hang on in there if you want to. I've probably covered most of the topics here, but I'll just answer the last few questions. What should I do if they send the 2NL but the consulate in my country is closed? Right. So Okay, so there are a couple of ways that you can change your interview location, and generally I say don't do that unless it's unavoidable. You can either do that by contacting KCC prior to the scheduling of your interview and asking them to schedule it at some other location, or you can wait for the embassy to be sent the paperwork by KCC, and then you ask that embassy and another embassy to arrange to move the documentation between the two embassies. In general, moving embassies either before through KCC or after introduces some risk. So if you can avoid it, do the interview at the embassy that is local to you. It's much easier. But if you can't avoid it, if there's no choice, then yeah, you can ask KCC to to move your case even before they schedule that. Okay, Britt, when will the Gomez case be done? April is what I'm saying. Can you tell me about the DV selectees who haven't received the visa yet? Again, they'll have to wait for the April timeline for the outcome of the Gomez case. Does it mean visas issued in September due to expire in March has been extended for 6 months, again, according to the lawsuit? That is true. But what it means is that those visas that were about to expire in March are now all valid and able to enter, with a possibility that they might be impacted by the Schengen and other bans, but we'll figure that out tomorrow. Okay. Thanks for your good job. Wash your hands, wash your hands. Absolutely. I think Biden read your blog and listened to you. I don't know about that. Wish he would. I've been chatting with some of the government, but it's hard work with them. I have to say, it's not easy. Javier, Mr. Brid, thanks for the good job. But what about Cuba winners? DV 2021 and Georgetown, Guyana is open. Yeah, so some of the Cuban winners may be able to go to Guyana. So you can try that. You can try and move that case there. Just be sure that you can travel. Obviously, in Cuba, you've got travel restrictions, right? So just be sure you've got a way of traveling before you ask to move your case to an embassy, and then you can't travel there. So yeah, you'll have to figure that out. I think you asked earlier, Natty. I can't say for sure whether you'll get an interview or not. You'll have to wait and see, I'm afraid. Interesting question. I asked you about what documents do I need if I change the country of chargeability. What do you mean you change the country? You answered, I remember your question. You answered normal documentation. You were born in Egypt and chose Sudan, parents' country of birth. Yes, I remember answering you. I said normal documentation. You just provide the normal documentation. You have a birth certificate that says where you were born, and you provide that. You don't have to provide any documentation that says why you screwed up your entry. You did screw up your entry. I don't know why, but you don't have to explain that. You just have to say you're sorry at the interview. That's it, right? Normal documentation, whatever is the same for any other case, right? Don't lie. For goodness sake, don't lie. And don't make up documentation that tries to cover up for what you did. Just go in there and tell them the truth and give them the honest documents. It's as simple as that. Just like I said before, normal documentation. Okay. Okay. Oh man. Oh, I just scrolled way past. I was told that there is not anything to do for 2020 people who got their interview cancelled. Whoever told you that is an idiot. The Gomez case is still ongoing. You need to wait for the outcome of that case. Murad, no question, just thank you. You're welcome. And thank you for saying thank you. Shoku, the lawyers were smart, but they wouldn't have achieved what they achieved without your help and expertise, no doubt. Well, I think they're pretty smart. Thank you for saying so, but I think they're pretty smart. They probably would have figured out everything without me, I'm sure. Gennaro, if they send the 2NL but the consulate is closed, should I travel, wait for 3 months and try and do AOS? Why would you do that? You just got everything you wanted, right, Gennaro? Your consulate is closed today, perhaps, but they could be open in a week's time. How's the COVID situation in your country? Just apply a little bit of logic. If you try and go through the AOS process, you're going to delay your case significantly, and you'll actually be risking your case because of timeline. So I really wouldn't be doing that if I were you. Okay. Right. Okay, I think, Anne, I may have talked to you the other day, but if not, let me just say the same thing I said to someone else. So a case who got a medical hold before and got a clear report might get a medical hold again. You're absolutely right, right? And so as the Gomez case comes up, which is now going to be early April, if your medical hold is going to take, let's say, 2 months to figure out, personally, I would take the medical now to start that medical hold period again, so that by the time the Gomez case is finalized in April, you've got a chance of processing your case and getting your green card. If you don't do that, and we only get 9,000 visas, then you're basically going to be out of luck, because all those 9,000 visas will be issued before you can get your medical hold approved. So it's a gamble to pay more fees to do your medical again, and it may not pay off. I understand that. But that would be my suggestion, right? I would do the medical right now. I would speak to the doctor and see if the medical hold is going to be, an issue again, I presume for TB tests or whatever. If it is, then go ahead and do the medical right now. And Susan says, the best moment of her life. That's awesome. Really good news. DV results 2021 out. I think you mean DV 2022. That's going to be out in May. Yep, they got an extension, God love, and they also just got happy through the revocation of PP10014. PP10052, someone said earlier that the first section of that is revoked, but you'll have to look for yourself. I don't know about that particular proclamation. April is the answer for that. Hi, Leb. Muhi Tech. Those who registered in October will find out the results in May, and that will go ahead as normal. Always does. Okay, let's see. I'm just scanning down. So Renu from Nepal is saying, I'm planning to show a financial statement on the interview. The girlfriend is in the US doing her PhD and living there for the last 4 to 5 years. Continued, she's a student. She's considered an alien resident. Not placed her name on the DS-260. Can she help me with anything on public charge? If she has an income that is sufficient to support you, then yes, she could help you. But unless she's very highly paid, that's unlikely. So you need, but maybe she can get a friend of hers or a family member or something in the USA to help you. Okay. Hell, my favorite person. I learned a lot of things from you. God bless you. I bet you learned patience, right? I'm a 2021 winner, but I didn't hear anything from KCC. Case number is AS32XXX. Do you think I have a chance for interview? It's a very risky number. Sammy, I have to say it's a very risky number. It became more risky when the Muslim ban was revoked, because around about 7,000 people, a bit more than that, 7,500 people in the Asia region prior to the Muslim ban being revoked were effectively blocked from getting their visas. And almost all of those people will be in front of you. They'll have lower case numbers than you. So when the Muslim ban got revoked, you went back in the line by 7,500 people. So it's going to be difficult, I have to say. I can't say for sure it's not going to happen, but it's a very small chance that you'll get anywhere, Samuel. What shall happen to the Asia category? Sandesh, I don't know what your question means. I don't know. It's too vague. I answered that earlier. Nikki, I always like to see your profile photo, and thank you for saying that. That's lovely words. Thank you very much. I'm currently in China and Ghanaian. Spoke about you earlier. VB for Nepal is slow. Why is that? 9,600, is that a bad number? 9,600 isn't a bad number in Asia, but it's one of the highest numbers in Nepal. So Nepal will have a cutoff at around about 10,000 in terms of the selectees chosen, and so it is a high number. Why is it slow for Nepal? Well, almost all of the Nepalese selectees respond, right? They all respond, and almost all of them go through Kathmandu. right? So instead of them being spread out throughout the world, they're all going there. They're all responding. So there's 3,500 people, a lot of interviews going on in one embassy, right? That's why it's slow. So there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to be patient and hope that they get to your number. Oh, another Emilio, you're in Mexico as well. You're going to cross the border in 2 weeks. When you say cross the border, do you mean, I hope you're not driving? Don't drive anywhere in Mexico that you're not sure of, right? I mean, if you're close to the border, great. You can come up through San Diego or something, but be very careful, please. But yeah, you're going to be fine. You know, your visa expires March 27th. You can just relax and you'll be fine. So that's really good news. How cool, Amelia. That's really nice. Okay. Exceptions in countries in VB will disappear by September. Not really. So you're talking about Iran. So Asia is Iran and Nepal. There's exceptions. They won't really disappear. No, I think Nepal will probably remain with an exception to the end. In other words, have a cutoff, and Iran possibly also. So you'll have to wait and see. From your number AS 17,000 and your question, I know you must be from Iran because you wouldn't be asking if you're from Nepal. You wouldn't be asking if you're from other countries in Asia, but if you're from Nepal, you wouldn't have a case number 17,000. So you're from Iran, and that's a pretty high number for Iran. I think the highest numbers in Iran are about 20,000. So it's a pretty high number. Is there anything we can do so that the embassies will open? Yeah, the lawyers will continue to push that. Yeah, Asia 29,000. That's a risky number. Same as I spoke to a few moments ago for one of the other questions. Good night, Buddha. Sarah Boston, 2021 winner. Yeah. 16,000 requested an interview at the US Embassy, Sweden. What are your thoughts knowing that they have done things very differently regarding COVID? Well, you're in Sweden, right? I mean, they did do things differently. There's been a lot of political conversation about that. They didn't mandate lockdowns like other countries, but people in Sweden, I think, are pretty sensible. It's a very sparsely populated country. It's only 10 million residents. There's only 8 cities with a population above 100,000. It's just a very sparsely populated country, right? The density is helpful, and with a bit of common sense, and I think that's a lot to do with it. I'm sure people there were cautious and wore masks if they had to, or were socially distant if they had to. They just didn't have to go into lockdown. So they did things differently. The embassy themselves will be run by Americans, so they'll have a sort of an American mindset to this. They'll be a bit cautious, but should be okay. Should be fine. Don't know what else I can say about that, really. Okay, last few questions, and I'm just scanning down, see if there's any questions that I haven't answered, similar questions. Sweshi. Greetings from Obama land, absolutely. So and you're all excited. There you go. You're waiting for your tour now. That's wonderful. So we're going to have another Kenyan. Obama will be thrilled. We're going to have another Kenyan in the country. Awesome. That's really cool. Sorry. Yep. Contact, because of your case number, contact KCC and ask if they're satisfied with your documents. And watch my video from today. I think there's a number of people that they haven't heard anything from KCC, and you've got a low case number, relatively low case number. So that suggests to me that maybe you didn't send all of your documents, and so contact KCC and figure out whether you're missing something. Wow, this is a really low number in Asia. So that's really cool. So you're in Afghanistan. Kabul embassies reopen in February. Yeah, you might be scheduled in April. More Yeah, more likely, I think it would be May, but we'll see. Easy. So somebody else was just commenting from the Bahamas. There aren't very many. If you're North American, the North American case numbers go up to about case number 25. All of you get current, and usually there's about 5 or 6 cases with a few derivatives. It's not many people in the Bahamas. That's not for any other reason other than not many people apply. So there it is. I don't know. I'm not great with looking after North America. I have to say, I don't know many of the other winners, but occasionally I see someone from the Bahamas. Always thrilled to speak to you guys. Okay, so Rael, no, you don't send your high school degree to KCC. You present that at the interview. Zachary, her father just went to the hospital and wanted to be with him. Yeah, so in this case, and in any case, you can, if you want, choose to rely on the extension granted through the Gomez case. You can do that. There is a risk involved in that if the Gomez order has to change in some way. But yes, there's a 6-month clock. It started today because of the revocation. So you can use the extension time if you feel you must. Okay. Yeah, Naji, same answer I just gave. Yes, I think it's a better idea not to rely on the extension if I were you. The extension's valid. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think, do you know the saying, the bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush? Take the certain choice, right? So yeah, do that. Alex, your parents are 70 years old and won the lottery. Are they going to be considered a public charge? Can money in the bank also help? I'm also a US resident. Okay. Presumably, you can provide an I-134 for them to say you're going to sponsor them. So that takes out the immediate sort of concerns. They also will need to explain how they will support themselves. America, as you know, is probably more expensive than the place they came from. So they would need to come with funds and that sort of thing. You also have to consider how they're going to get medical insurance. Some of the medical insurances for older people don't automatically kick in for someone that's newly arrived. You have to spend some time here and pay taxes here. So you'll need to figure out for yourself exactly what they are going to be entitled to. And that, that's something you need to consider. Cool. Bonnie, that's awesome. Thank you for that comment. I'm glad your sister's all set now. Okay. All right. I think we're almost there. Yeah. Swishy, what are you saying? Got confirmation letter saying your documents are okay in October 2020. Oh yeah, you can do cartwheels. You're ready, right? You're going to be scheduled. You've got a low case number. Your documents are processed. You're in good shape. I love the cartwheels there. Tiziano, can't believe tomorrow I'm going to activate my visa with my wife. I'm thrilled and I'm shaking. Can't thank you enough. That's awesome. That's what it's all about for me. I know I've helped thousands of people get their green cards, and it really means a lot to me. So enjoy that tomorrow. It's a special day. It's going to be good for you. Actually, Vietnam next week. It's been a long journey. Yep, enjoy my wine. Every time someone mentions a drink or anything, I have to take a drink. What's the email address to send documents to KCC? Look at my YouTube channel. I posted a video today. It's got all the information there. It's on my blog. It's KCC documents at state.gov, but go ahead and check that exactly. Okay. Yeah. I remember this comment before. I thought choosing Sudan would give me a high possibility of selection. So no need to include your mother's birth certificate. No, you don't need your mother's birth certificate. Again, just a normal documentation. You screwed up. It didn't give you any better chances of selection, and thank goodness it was in the same region, because otherwise you'd have been out of luck. But no, didn't help you, and it was just a pure mistake. Have to apply for F1 visa, PhD. Okay. You can't withdraw the DS260, Amir. If you get the F1, that's fine. They may bring up the fact that you've applied for an immigrant visa, but you can't withdraw the DS260. You submitted it, you can't withdraw it. So, unfortunately, that's going to affect you. Wow, Joseph, welcome back. 2017, DV 2017 process. Lovely to see you back. Okay, Anne Ray, this will be the last question, I think. Tried to do medical in advance. The IOM, they're such a pain in the ass, that organization. They're saying they cannot because they need embassy permission first. But thank you for your efforts and kind words. Yeah, IOM seem to think that they run the bloody world. They don't. See if there's another physician that's recommended or approved by the embassy. Also contact the embassy and see if they'll help out. But IOM, honestly, they need their asses kicking. They are providing a service. They are not in a position where they make decisions. So they drive me nuts. And I've been hearing stupid things about them for literally 7 years. So I know exactly what they're like. I don't understand why. Okay, so that's it. I'm gonna wrap this up. It's a happy day. I've had great news from my work side today. I've had a nice time with my family, and then this wonderful news for all of you. It's been a very good day. I'm going to finish off my wine. I'll enjoy that, and I hope a few of you will get to celebrate over the next few days in America. All right. So fingers crossed for you all. I think things are going to get sorted out now. There's good news for DV 2020. There's hopefully good news in the Gomez case for DV 2020. For the people that have not had visas issued yet, there'll be some help for DV 2021. I mean, it's just awesome. It's a great day. All right, everybody, I'm going to end the broadcast now, but thank you very much for joining me. All right, good night. Bye-bye.